Well, gang, welcome once again to an extension of our program, The Morning Experience. This is the virtual experience, and we have some of ATL's finest joining. Well, maybe no more, but they are celebrities in their own right. They have a very successful TV show on TV One, ATL Homicide, ATL Homicide, and they're getting ready to go into their third season. They're with us. We have David Quinn as well as Vincent Velasquez. Vincent, he's got his T-shirt on, so he's doing the warm weather thing on us, but that's all right, guys. How you doing today?
Good,
What's
man.
good, my brother?
Great.
All right.
Feeling good.
What's up?
First off, congratulations with the announcement of the third season being renewed for a third season with ATL Homicide. What's the experience been like for you guys? Because you guys are actually homicide detectives, correct?
Yeah, we're not retired, but yeah, David and I were detectives, partners for almost 19 years working homicide here in Atlanta, working cases together. So this season is going to be better than season 2 and 1. I mean, it's 15 episodes, and what we can tell the viewers is this: when you watch each episode, you're going to feel like you're riding in the car with us, like you're our partner, trying to figure it out as we go.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the stories, the episodes, each episode is based in part on some true life events?
It is based 100% on true life events. This essentially is our diary. I mean, we're actually storytellers on true crime facts and circumstances that happened between me and my brother V.
Wow. So, I'm always fascinated with those. I know some locally who have chosen that line of work, and I'm fascinated at the type of personality that has to be able to endure emotionally and psychologically what you may see on a day-to-day basis. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I could tell you that for me, and I can speak for Dave when I say this. We're both fathers. Dave has a bigger family than I do. I have one son. So when you are working and you're standing over someone who's been killed, and a lot of these are young people, and it resonates with you how short life is and how precious life is. You have to go home and you have to deal with your family. You have to put that aside and be a father or a brother or a husband, a friend, a neighbor, all those things that everybody does every day. But all that stuff that we see and experience in our careers is still here. It's in your hearts, it's in your DNA, it's in your head, So it's a balancing act, and you gotta be able to take that hat off, but you never really turn it off. It's almost like you step into this role, Let's I liken it to when you step into a restaurant, you step into the role as a customer and you act that part as the waiter acts their part. We go to work with a detective. We come home with a father, with a son, the husband, the brother, whatever role it is. But all that's still here. It's still here. The emotion is raw. All those faces, all those bodies, all those years. I know David feels the same way.
No doubt.
And for me, what I hear is, and this is a term I use personally, of course, not to the degree of what you guys experienced during your careers, but being able to compartmentalize, your professional life from your personal life.
You got to do that. That's fair. And you've got to have some spirituality. I mean, God was riding with us on all these homicides. And, it's funny. We look around sometimes and we say, how did that just happen? Well, that had to be the creator, because it was more than just luck. And it was like less than effort from us. So,
yeah,
as long as your heart's in the right place, the Almighty's going to help you through these cases, because you definitely need them.
I hear you. Now, let me ask you guys, for you, I mean, it's great that your show is doing well. You're back for your third season. But in sharing these stories, what is the redeeming value for you guys? I mean, outside of just having a successful TV show, I'm sure that it's more than that. What is the redeeming value in sharing these stories for you?
Dave, take this one, because you've answered this question before, and I think you hit the nail on the head.
Well, for us, it's all about the families left behind. I mean, that has been our mantra. We have been changed since day one. We always give it back to the mamas, the brothers, the sisters, and the papas, the cousins and the aunties. Those are the ones that we actually work for. They're left behind in these situations. That empty seat is at the kitchen table forever. And if you do your job right, you create and become part of that family because you're honest with them. You gave them all kinds of transparency. And more importantly, you told them when you didn't know what you were going to do. You showed your vulnerabilities. And me and Vin, our success rate was off the charts in closing these murders. So we have an extended family that reaches miles from these victims' families left behind.
You know, that's interesting that you say that. I work in conjunction with the district attorney's office here in Baltimore.
Awesome.
They have a program for families, bereaved families, mothers who've lost their sons and daughters now to gun violence, and it is an ongoing effort to try to help promote healing. Gentlemen, 2020 was a year that left us in need of a lot of healing with everything that's happened, not only when we talk about homicide, when we talk about racial injustice with the cases of Aubrey and Floyd and Breonna, and then of course with even the recent developments we saw January 6th in the nation's capital. How do you suggest we try to address that need for healing from your perspective?
You know, I can tell you this, Lee. What David said resonates with me, and that's why I wanted him to say that, because he does such a good job of getting that message out of how this is for families and healing. And you're right, you hit the nail on the head when you said it's not just what happened on January 6th. It's a combination of things, and everybody's just tired of it. Like, it's this weight that's everybody's carrying on their shoulders right now. We just want some relief. At the end of the day, you know, it's really, it's not about me or you, it's about us as a community, you know, and I think we got to start there as a community.
How do we
Part of a local
being an Oh, I'm sorry, say it again.
I said I'm part of the local Atlanta Victim Witness program that helps surviving families. In fact, I've been placed on the board of directors because I've been working with them locally, raising money. So I say start with your community, start with your neighbors, and then grow on that. You know, what happened in the Capitol on January 6th is just, that's a microcosm of what's really going on all over the country. It was in our face. This is nothing new, but we can start by helping each other out and then building upon that. And in my opinion, I think that's where the healing starts.
You know, and I think, David, you made mention of the fact of what's been going on. And of course, we talked about the healing, but at the root, you talked about the spiritual piece, the spiritual component. And of course, for me, that resonates. I'm a pastor locally. And what I've noticed, and I've attributed at the very core of all of this phenomenon that we're seeing, is anger, particularly in the communities of color, particularly amongst those who live in the depressed areas that feel as though they've been left out and kicked to the curb, where they've taken on alternative behaviors in their eyes to survive, which actually puts them on a path to destruction, and ultimately become clients for your program. How do we get our young people to realize that the wages, if I could coin a phrase from the scriptures, the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life? How do we get them to understand that that's just not the way?
You got to start one neighborhood at a time. You got to win one neighborhood. Every time you step out the car, your city issued police vehicle, you've got to win that street. You've got to win that neighborhood. And you do that by being around. I'm speaking straight to law enforcement when there's nothing going on. Law enforcement has appreciated this reactionary way of dealing with people, showing up when only the blood happens on a scene. You got to be there when the kids are getting off the school bus to make sure they get in the house safely, just with your visibility. I mean, we as a country, now that we see what these yahoos did down there on January 6th, we got to take a look at ourselves.
Yeah.
And we got to say this gun violence has to come to an end. We've got to figure out something, because all these, individuals that want to, keep their Second Amendment rights, we're the ones getting shot up. 3 months ago,
Wow.
my son, who was 2 years removed from the military, coming home, he was shot 3 times during an armed robbery, and they got $200. And they shot my son in the back. He's
This
got
is your son? Your son?
my son, my son, my twin. I mean, and I got that call middle of the night, and I go out to the crime scene, and this was crazy. I'm retired, and I see my son's blood,
Oh, my.
on this crime scene with this yellow crime scene tape up. And here's what's interesting. I'm a well-known police officer in Metro Atlanta. And this neighboring department just south of the city, they treated me with no respect. They assumed my
And you're
son
one of
was
their
there.
own. And you're one of their own.
They knew who I was. When I rolled up on scene, frantic. I didn't even have my mask on. I was so beside myself. Everybody's saying ATL Homicide's here. They thought I was coming to work a murder. I'm coming to find out what happened with my son. He'd already been transported to the hospital. My point is, the first conversation I had with the lead detective, and he knew who I was. Do you think your son was down there buying drugs? My son was a paratrooper jumping out of airplanes overseas for the United States of America in the U.S. Army. And he came home and got shot like a dog. He's probably going to have a limp the rest of his life and walk with a cane. By the grace of God, the bullet that pierced his back didn't penetrate his spine. So I had, as a community, we got to go to these police departments. Like, I went straight to the chief, and I said, I got disrespected by your detective. I want the case reassigned because a black young man was, in a neighborhood and get shot. He had to have culpability. And that just really, everybody knew who I was on that scene.
Right.
And the police, policing has to be reimagined.
What you just said,
keep it going the way it's been.
What you just said, resonated with me, because being known in that area and being recognized when you showed up and responded to the news you received about your son, and yet you were treated unfavorably, that can only lend itself to understanding why many people don't like the police. Because if you got treated that way, the average Joe Blow who's not known by the police, probably gets treated that way or worse.
It was awful. And it was just really a gross incompetence on the part of their criminal investigations division, because black people are the only ones getting shot at the hands of gun violence. There's not a whole lot of passion, vim, and vigor put towards closing those cases.
All right. Yeah. So, Dave. So can you tell us a little bit about the?
Absolutely. The season 3 premiere of ATL Homicide involves the murder of a brother by the name of LaDedrick Love. LaDedrick Love is a brother that was a family man. And what you're going to find in the opening sequences, he is mortally wounded. He is clinically dead when he takes the wheel of the car and tries to save the life of his family. Doctors didn't know how he drove and navigated about a half mile to make it to a police precinct to actually get aid rendered for his wife that had been shot, and his small 3-year-old son who received a serious gunshot wound to the foot. This brother died, saving his family. The story was really emotional. I became close with LaDedrick Love's mother, who was instrumental in solving the case, which is part of what me and Vin prided ourselves on, including family members. This brother's mama helped us bring this case in because we gave her access and we gave her total transparency from the first day we walked to her doorstep.
Wow. Wow, that sounds exciting, man. I can't wait. You said 9 p.m., TV One, this coming Monday, the 25th.
The 25th, 9/8 Central, Monday, the 25th of January, only on TV One.
Now listen, you and Vince had to cut away because of another engagement, another commitment. So he left everything in your hands, very competent and capable.
That's my brother.
In closing, with your unique experiences and skill set and perspective, as we touched on the problems in our communities of color, we touched on the scenario that evolved on January 6th. What are some public safety tips that you could offer to the viewers of this program that could kind of make sure that they are top of mind when it comes to their own personal safety, moving about in the streets in these turbulent times?
During these turbulent times, I would encourage everyone to be aware. You have to live your life. You cannot live in a box. This is a big,
Right.
beautiful world out here. This is our country too. I would say common sense is your greatest weapon when trying to protect yourselves. And us Black and brown people, we're very communal. We have to rely on our community. We have to have a global neighborhood watch. We've got to look out for our children. We got to look out for our neighbors' children. And you have to be aware. I would keep things moving for sisters out here, women, during the daylight hours. Nothing good happens after dark. I worked nights for many years, and I would say live your life, go on your power walks, go to the gym, look after your grandparents, social distancing as we get this pandemic under control, but be aware. Keep your head on a swivel.
All right. God bless you. God keep you and heaven smile upon you, man. And we'll circle back. And look, when you come into your kingdom, please remember little old guys like us, okay?
Godspeed, my brother. Thank you for having us.